And so the Lord was just really speaking to me and saying, this is a season where my people are going to be presented choices to either retreat in fear, to grumble and turn away, to refuse to take on their personal giants, or they're going to come into just a season of real pressing and squeezing, until they enter into the wide open space that I have for them on the other side, the promised land, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
And I went through a terrible terrible season of warfare. And for me,
Yes, me too.
shooey, that was rough, man.
Yeah.
But God kept giving me this picture of a video game that I was lightweight obsessed with when I was a kid, and it has ended up being a prophetic word over my life,
Mm.
Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah.
And so
Yes.
that's a Disney game, and this kid named Sora runs around trying to rescue his friends from the darkness. And he
Mm-hmm.
has a giant keyblade that he opens up realms with, and he shuts down demonic gates with.
Mm-hmm.
And but the biggest thing is he opens up hearts, and that's a huge thing for me because of my heart for evangelism, is
Mm-hmm.
to open up hearts to God's love.
Yeah.
But that, and then I had actually, and God speaks to me in a number of cool ways. And so I went to the store to get some more foundation, for my beautiful complexion. And I happened to grab a lipstick and an eye palette, just because I like the colors,
Mm-hmm.
not paying attention to what they are. And when I got them, I realized that the eye palette was in the shape of a remote control, like for a video
Oh,
game.
wow.
And it's called Playgirl, which
Yeah.
is not a great name, but
Right.
it was video game themed. And then I looked at the lipstick and it was called Level Up. And
Okay.
so the Lord had been showing me, like, I, would be praying, and he would keep taking me to scenes in Kingdom Hearts where Sora was fighting off one of the bosses, and he would, win, and then he goes to the next level.
Mm-hmm.
And so the Lord just said, this is the season for my people to say enough is enough. And it's time for you to level up, like come up
Mm-hmm.
higher, come to the next place,
Mm-hmm.
and refuse to settle in disbelief or discouragement or where you're at. Like there's another place that I
Yeah.
have for you.
I love it.
And so I was really encouraged by that. And so I actually went and I looked up, like, what does level up mean? And it's a process that characters in a video game go through where they reach a new level. So they gain greater attributes, they learn more
Yeah.
abilities, and it
And you do
involves,
that through experience. You
yes.
know, get dealing with warfare,
Mhm.
and that you get experience, and that experience levels you up. And the others, sorry, I'm a gamer. My wife and I play games all the time, so I'm like really this.
Yeah.
And then as you get higher, the higher level you get, the more experience you need to funnel that into to leveling up. So
Yeah, and that's the thing, and I was really intrigued when I found out that when like game designers make these storylines for the video games, that they actually intentionally set the main character up, or the person who's playing, for victory. So everything you do to with the experience, so the puzzles, the battles, and all that stuff, to gain experience, you're actually gaining everything that you need so that when you get to the boss, you're prepared for victory.
mhm.
And that was very encouraging too. I was like, yes, Jesus, that is absolutely what you do. Everything that we go through, all the stuff that when the enemy, what the enemy means for evil, you promise will work for our good.
Mhm.
And so there's actually nothing that we can go through in life where there isn't. I mean, and I think about like Jesus, right? And how the kingdom looks so opposite from what our human minds would think something should look like. So, I mean, you see Jesus on the cross, right? And all of humanity and even all of hell saw the cross, and they thought that was like the biggest defeat
Mhm.
of the kingdom of all time. Like, oh,
Yeah.
this is like total and utter defeat. But it ended up being the greatest victory of all time in eternity, right?
Mhm.
And so for us Christians, I mean, I can say for myself, what has looked like terrible defeat and failure and brokenness and brokenheartedness, God has always turned it around and actually used it as a platform for my promotion. My pain for the believer can, depending on how we navigate our hearts in that painful process with the Lord,
Yeah.
can become a platform for our promotion. And that's been my story. I mean, some of the most impactful teachings and anointing that I walk in has directly come from some of the greatest pain that I've ever went through in my life.
Mhm.
The Speak Life Project, I had 2 abortions before I knew the Lord. And then when I got saved, and I'm mourning my children and realizing how I was deceived into making that decision. Now I have that pain has been made into a platform for me to invite other women who are post-abortive to come and share their stories so that they get freedom, they get healing,
Mhm.
and they get to be a part of the eventual complete abolition of abortion in our country, I believe you
Mhm.
know so but it was that pain that made that platform, right? Or my trauma teaching, I'm seeing so many people get healing from complex PTSD, and it's because of all the garbage I went through in my life, and then that terrible season I went through where I couldn't function because of all the triggers until Jesus healed me.
Mhm.
And so that's a word for whoever is watching, guys. Like, you can either allow the enemy to keep you a victim, or you can recognize that literally God is always working it together for your good.
Mhm.
If you love him and you are called according to his purpose, he will take what the enemy meant for harm and he will use it for your good. And then not just that, but for the good of the kingdom, he will multiply his victory through you into the lives of others.